In May 2021, the entire national network of the Irish Health Service executive went dark. Doctors couldn't access patient records, critical surgeries were postponed, and payrolls froze. The hospital system was locked out by a severe ransomware attack, with millions of patient records held hostage. But then, the attackers handed over the decryption key to the hospital, entirely for free. Investigators flocked to examine the breach while it was still fresh. They found a specific pattern of behavior, an attack engineered to inflict exactly enough pain to force a payment, rather than one designed for total destruction. This specific behavior pointed directly to Conti. The gang actually maintained an internal mandate prohibiting hits on medical facilities, meaning the Irish hospital was a major violation of their own internal policy. Conti functioned as a corporate empire. They built a multi-million-dollar system around HR departments and fixed salaries, turning digital extortion into a professionalized trade. Conti surfaced around 2019, stepping in to fill a market void right as a prolific ransomware strain called Ryuk began slowing down its operations. Rather than coding every piece of malware from scratch, Conti's leadership executed a corporate acquisition. They integrated two existing highly effective banking Trojans, Emotet and TrickBot, to form a seamless attack chain. Security researchers compare this layered approach to a matryoshka nesting doll. The outer doll is Emotet. It secures the initial access, typically sneaking through a network barrier disguised inside a malicious email attachment. Once inside, the next doll opens, releasing TrickBot. This tool quietly runs in the background, mapping the internal nodes and stealing credentials to move freely across the targeted network over a period of weeks. Finally, the smallest doll is deployed, the Conti ransomware payload itself. It bypasses lower-level files and surgically locks down only the most critical, high-value data on the mapped network. Combining these three specific tools allowed the group to execute precise, almost undetectable intrusions. It turned raw malware into a streamlined commercial product, guaranteeing massive, reliable profit margins. By 2021, under a leader known as Stern, Conti was generating roughly $180 million in annual revenue. They reinvested around $25 million of that into physical office spaces and high-end hardware. The operation ran on standard 9-to-5 shifts. They maintained a dedicated 3-person human resources department to conduct professional-grade interviews, pay fixed-wage salaries to coders, and enforce strict attendance policies. Running any legal enterprise of this scale required protection. While law enforcement agencies globally hunted them, Conti operated openly in Russia, shielded by an alliance with the FSB, Russia's state intelligence apparatus. In exchange for this cover, Conti acted as a proxy for the state. When the Dutch investigative group Bellingcat was looking into the persecution of Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny, the FSB directed Conti to hack Bellingcat journalists and steal their files. This state backing provided near-total immunity. In late 2020, multiple high-level operators tied to Conti were named as persons of interest in a Moscow court. Internal chats revealed the group promised its members the problem would go away. On November 15th, the court abruptly dismissed the case. Conti's power relied on a combination of corporate efficiency and state-sponsored immunity. That rigid corporate structure eventually created deep internal friction. After the rogue attack on the Irish hospital, Stern docked the paychecks of the affiliates involved and humiliated them in company chat rooms, heavily alienating his own workforce. The breaking point arrived in February 2022. As Russian forces launched full offensive operations into Ukraine, Conti pledged their complete support to the Russian government. This announcement enraged a pro-Ukrainian researcher who had secretly infiltrated Conti's ranks. The insider retaliated by dumping over 2 years of highly classified internal communications, infrastructure details, and the group's closely guarded source code onto the public internet. Security researchers and global law enforcement suddenly possessed a complete map of the syndicate's inner workings. The leak exposed their operational playbook and nullified their technical advantage overnight. An empire built entirely on exploiting the network vulnerabilities of massive global institutions was taken down by the resentment of its own employees. As the walls closed in, Conti launched a massive attack against Costa Rica in April 2022. They locked down a terabyte of taxpayer files, crippling the country's medical infrastructure and forcing the government to declare an institutional emergency. Behind the scenes, the group's infrastructure was already vanishing. The Costa Rica incident provided a global spotlight that masked the systematic dismantling of the brand. While international media and allied governments focused all their resources on stabilizing Costa Rica, Conti's administrators quietly pulled the plug. They dismantled their servers, deleted their communication channels, and systematically erased their digital footprints. The central cartel vanished, but its workforce and leaked source code immediately scattered. Former affiliates simply took their expertise and reassembled into dozens of smaller splinter factions, like Black Suit and Hello Kitty. The syndicate dissolved, but it proved that the decentralized business model of ransomware can survive as long as it remains profitable.